Everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of the show,
LaMarr Darnell Shields.
When you said the person that you want to meet the most, I was just hoping you were going to say me, but you did not. So I'm going to edit that out of the show. But I know that there's another person that you met that you spoke highly of. His name is Nelson Mandela. And can you talk to us about that meeting of Nelson Mandela? He was on my list, my wish list. I talk a lot about Nelson Mandela in my work, and also talk a lot about Bishop Desmond Tutu. In my work, I talk about the concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. And in one of your interviews, you talked about meeting Nelson Mandela, and you talked about energy. And I'm assuming because, you talk about the energy of these plants and these animals, you somewhat felt some connection to him. Can you share your story about meeting Nelson Mandela?
Absolutely. So I was doing a film in South Africa, and it was a Western with Martin Sheen, who's an activist, as you probably know.
Yeah.
And humanitarian. He called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to go meet Nelson Mandela, and if you'd like to come, I'd like you to join me." And I said, "Absolutely, I'd love to meet Nelson Mandela." Wow. Okay, so we left that morning, and it was just several actors. It was one of my co-stars. It was Martin Sheen, his son, and our amazing driver who was there every day with us. It was just a beautiful person. And we went to his headquarters in Joburg, went upstairs and walked in. And I remember the energy of this man was pure joy. There was such a pureness. The smile to meet us was like, I just remember he's so excited to meet us. And I am so blown away at this. I couldn't even, I was only 25, I think at the time. I did not realize what I was in the presence of, but it was impacting. It went right in, just like in nature. So like, as you said, it was something that just connected on such a deep level. And we talked about, he just wanted to know everything about what we were doing. He wanted to know, he was talking about how I just love actors. I love acting, I probably would be an actor in another life. He had this, just joy, playfulness. And meeting Martin Sheen, he was talking about Apocalypse Now. And it was just, we spent 45 minutes or more with him in his office and just hung out. It was just us and him, just hanging out, talking about where we were, what we were doing, the sets and, our lives. And, he asked about, what in my life, and I was married at the time. I had stepkids that I was parenting, and I showed him some pictures, and he, he spoke about his family, and he spoke about what he was trying to do in Africa. He gave us a little bit about what he was trying to do and how he was trying to unite the tribes together, how he was trying to create peace, not just between the Boers, the Caucasians, the white people and the Africans, the tribes together. There was a lot that he was working through. There was so much he was dealing with. He was, his ability to smile into your heart, because his heart came from his smile came from his heart. It just came from there.
Yeah, I love how you are reminiscing with his story and watching you light up. I just read Will Smith's book, Will. And of course, you know, he worked in Africa doing the film about Muhammad Ali. And he was in South Africa and he met Nelson Mandela one time. And Nelson Mandela kept saying to him, I'm an old man. I'm an old man. And he was basically saying, you need to come sit with me. You need to come sit with me. And you hear old griot say that. And Will Smith said that he said that he doesn't have any regrets in his life, but this is at the top of the list. He said he really wanted to spend time with him, but he said, Will said, I think I was afraid. I was afraid. It was like he could see straight through me. And he would always say to me, this is Nelson Mandela saying, I'm an old man. I'm not going to be around that long. And when I read Will Smith's books, it reminded me of everything that you said. He said he felt like he was the only one in the room. And in South Africa, there's a greetings that says, Sawubona, I see you. And that's where that concept comes from. And you're saying that you're visible, that you're there. And especially with someone you like, I'm this woman from America. He might not know my roles, or he might know Martin Sheen, a couple of things. But regardless of those roles, we were there and we were present. And that's what I think that this work that you're doing that is really about, because you have an amazing list of accolades from acting, but to watch you just glow up, talking not only just about him, but talking about nature, even talking about the traumas that you had to overcome and the impact that they've had on your life. And so I appreciate that energy. How did unpacking your destructive family legacies help you to choose a different path? Because many of us, as you said, we run from our legacy. We run from the alcoholism or the abuse, or we run from the abandonment issue.
I'm just going to connect this to Nelson, because it's beautiful that you just asked that question. For the longest time, well, when we're hurt, when we're traumatized, we get hurt. We cover it with anger often. The anger is a defense to protect the wound. It's the Band-Aid that the human mind puts on. Often it's either drugs, alcohol, anger, protection. Hard to forgive when you're in that space of anger. Really hard to forgive, really hard to let go of the pain and see clearly that there is no one exempt from pain, that we are all the same. When I left that meeting with Nelson, I suddenly began to weep deeply in the car. And I had no idea why. No idea why. Why am I weeping? Because the level of forgiveness, the level of compassion, the level of grace this man walked in after living through what he lived through was a resonant experience to my heart of what I wanted. I wanted to feel that light, that joyous, that peaceful, that willing to do whatever I could to bring people together that he was. He spent 28 years in a box and came out filled with joy, filled with service, filled with grace. And that hit me in the most beautiful way. It just opened my heart. And that's why I wept. And Martin reached back and touched me and said, because I was like, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening. I'm so sorry. My 24-year-old, 25-year-old was just like, oh my God, this is, what's happening? And he said, it's okay. That's what happens when you meet somebody with that level of grace, with that level of forgiveness. It just impacts you. And it's beautiful that you're impacted this way, that his energy went straight to your core. That is why I've been on the path to the degree that I've been on the path, is not just because of my desire to choose myself as a child and leave, rather than, and recognition that if I stay, this is going to be harder for me. If I stay, it's knowing that I was going to have difficulty moving forward and being who I wanted to be. I needed a reprieve. So I ran. I started running away when I was 13. And finally, like you said, when I was 15. I always wanted to do and be an expression of God's love. Somehow, some way, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? Why am I here? Well, you're here as a member of this family. You're here to show that no matter what you've been through, there's always room for love. There's always room for compassion. There's always room for grace. And in the midst of suppressing and pushing down and trying to live into what, the success my agents were pushing me toward, because I was not wanting to let my trauma show, because here I was, all these great opportunities. I could not lose myself now. I could not go into trauma, and I cannot lose my ground now. I met this person, this beautiful soul that reminded me, you are just exactly the way you're supposed to be. Keep looking inside, keep expanding, keep remembering that you are joy. Remember before you decided what it was that happened to you, what it was defined as. Find another definition, find another perspective. That's what he, to me, represented. Somebody who looked at the very people that hurt him the most and loved them and served them. And that's why I did the work I did with my ancestors. That's why I did the work I did with my parents, my mother and my stepdad, my biological. It's, how can I be angry at them? How can any of us, if we're going to look at, people like Nelson that have walked this life, we can all look to Christ and say, wow, I will do my best. Nelson gives us such a clear path of showing, hang on a minute. Let me show you what it means to be in grace, compassion, to choose kindness, and to choose service.
And to choose forgiveness, as you said. Who else? And it's a beautiful story. There's another famous person who had a very similar aha moment. Now, she wasn't with Martin Sheen over there shooting a movie, but she is Hillary Rodham Clinton. And she shared a very similar story when she visited Nelson Mandela. And she was going through what she was going through with Bill Clinton at the time. And she said, he grabbed her hand and said to her, you need to forgive so you can move on, that there's something greater than what he did or what he thought he was doing to hurt you. And so she said exactly what you said. And so, I appreciate that story that you shared.